tournament. The first time was against Pain Gaming, and this time around as well, they are 2-0 up, so they have a little bit of room to experiment with and practice this pick on the stage, feel a little bit more confident with it. So it's something that hasn't worked for them the best in the past. I agree with you there, but they have a lot of room to bring it out and feel how they can play with it.
Yeah, and against Pain, they did still get a very decisive victory, but their early game just didn't look the way that you would have expected from Cloud9. So we'll see how this one shapes up. The Adagio actually drawing a ban here just from one game from Old School, and then of course Rona getting taken off the board. Black Feather is still available if Hunters do want to go that route.
Yeah, Black Feather is going to be picked up. Now you can flex the Lorelei as a jungler or as a captain, and then just hyper carry the Black Feather. Cloud9 here have a few options, given that Black Feather could be weapon or CP. But Weapon Sky is open. You can also Saw with Churnwalker as well. That's been a comp that has worked successfully in North America.
Old School on Saw, I've never seen that before.
I've never seen that, unfortunately. That's true. So let's see if they're going to go with potentially Sky or maybe even Baron. I mean, Baron is also open, but that's really risky because Black Feather is so good into Baron.
Yeah, I think Sky Weapon Power would make the most sense. What they're going to combine it with in the jungle, however, would be a great question. They could go for the CP Fortress again if they so choose to do that. Another thing that could work is the Reza. You can play aggressive with it, allow the Churnwalker to hurt someone, bring them closer, then just try to burst them.
There's also the fact that Kashka is available, another pick that we've been talking about for Cloud9. Has gotten through the draft this time because Hunters had to adapt their bans to try and focus on Old School. They're forcing him onto at least his third pick in this series, so he's going to have to be on something different, but the Kashka could still come out.
Yeah, it's probably Sky Kashka here. That's such a strong dive composition. Churnwalker, land the chains, pull him in, Kashka Sky, then target focuses whoever is caught off guard. And you have a stun, you have a Sky Ultimate, Death from Above stun, you have a Churnwalker Trespass stun, and you have a Kashka Yummy Catnip Frenzy stun. That's a very strong combination that we could see coming out here.
At the same time, Hunters does have a good draft to flex things around. You mentioned earlier the Black Feather can go either lane or jungle. Same as Lorelei can go either the jungle or even the lane or the captain. She's very flexible. We've seen her in all three roles competitively in other competitions. It is going to be the Petal rather than the Kashka. So a double range composition with Churnwalker, that traditionally doesn't work the best, but with how C9 has played so far in the series, I mean, I expect them to just come out dominating as well.
I mean, it is a double range with Churnwalker, but it is also a double range that can be very mobile and can get in your opponent's face if they need to. They also can still flex this. The Sky can go into the jungle to Joseph with the Petal in the lane. That's actually what I'm expecting, because Old School had been playing a lot of this weapon Petal during the regular season, along with Tribe and Dienzio.
And the Baron comes out. I think it's going to be a Weapon Sky for sure because of the Baron here, and she's mobile enough to stay on top of him. And of course, they have to CP to Black Feather because a Weapon Black Feather will not work very well into this composition. So pretty decent response from Hunters in this draft.
All right, so Hunters, they've got a good draft behind them. Is it good enough to take on Cloud9? Gentlemen, we could be going into the last game if Cloud9 can keep up the performance they've had in the first two of this series. Can Hunters get a game on the board here? Are Hunters going to come back?
Their draft is not bad. I like Lorelei, so I'm going to put my money on Hunters. So hopefully they get a game here.
Sweej hoping for the underdog here, Greg.
I love an underdog story, but I think we got our underdog story out of the way with Pain Gaming earlier. This is a 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with Sio. I think the draft is very good for Hunters, but C9 will take this one and win 3-0.
All right, we'll see how this one's going to be panning out. We've got 2 for Cloud9. Sweej hoping for the Hunters right here, but Cloud9 definitely looking like the favorites. It's time to head into Game 3. It's time to pass it to Medic and Excoundrel for Cloud9 versus Hunters.
Thank you very much, Munch. And we could be here with our final game of Day 2 here at the Vainglory Worlds in Singapore. And what a day it has been. Cloud9 on the cusp of a 3-0 victory versus Hunters.
Yeah, and I think no matter the drafts, no matter how the drafts have looked, Cloud9's execution has been a level above not only Hunters, but every team here at Worlds so far. They are definitely looking like the favorites for the whole thing right now. Even beyond Ace, even beyond Tribe and Impunity, Cloud9 looks so polished at this point in time.
That they do, but you never know when they're going to slip up. You know, Hunters, I'm sure, have a few tricks in their bag of tricks, and will try and challenge C9. We are back onto the Halcyon Fold, the third game here between Cloud9 and Hunters. Hunters fighting for their right to get through to the semi-finals, fighting for their lives here in the Vainglory World Championship.
So it is going to be CP Petal. Weapon Power Petal on 2.10, not so good because of the nerfs that took place. But obviously, Joseph has played so much Petal over the course of his VG8 career. They've got a very heavy dive composition. They're going to look to put pressure on the Baron. If this goes late, though, you have a very good composition from Hunters.
Godfather was super sneaky here. They didn't spot him, doesn't steal it though. That would have been the best roam play I've seen today if he'd managed to take that one away.
That's the best
I have low expectations sometimes. But
you did play with me quite a lot.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Godfather forcing Gabe Vizzle away, and it looks like Harmonious and Swagoo will just farm up the jungle, then come back into the lane. Looking for this three-man push that we see so commonly from Hunters. Hasn't worked out for them thus far, but should be able to get some pressure in the lane.
It's been deja vu every single game so far. The three-man push from Hunters, followed by that rotation to the backs from Cloud9. Cloud9 then have to deal with that minion wave push to their turret, but they never end up losing much from it. They're always able to farm the minion wave out. Old School's so good at juggling the turret shots as well as his own CSing ability.
Something in the past that he's actually been put down for is his ability to CS in lane. You know, he's an incredibly good laner, but sometimes his farm does fall behind compared to some of his international compatriots. Today, that has not been the case, being able to push Harmonious back on a number of occasions. It is going to be, as we expect, Weapon Power Baron and the CP Blackfeather here for Hunters.
I love that C9 rotate their entire team down to the Elder Treant just to share experience across it. That's really clever. It's worth quite a lot of experience, and you can get a minor advantage in terms of levels just by sharing it across your team. Hunter's going to make another three-man push into the lane here. Like I said, they've got two really good late-game carries. They're going to push onto Old School, but won't get too much from it.
The question is, can they get to the late game? Because up until now, C9 have just denied them any opportunity the later the game gets. We saw the fish food there, not quite connecting, and Godfather's been brought back to the awaiting arms of Old School. Pops the healing flask and manages to walk back away.
That is the question, Medic. Can they make it?
Can they make it to late game?
Cloud9 are famed for pushing that mid game super, super hard, getting global objectives, you know, off the map, putting pressure on a team without ever having to sometimes engage them at all. It is about getting to the late game, and Hunters so far haven't proven that they are able to contend with Cloud9 in the mid game.
And Joseph will take away the Treant. No experience share here, but getting that extra Treant early on does just give you that little bit of gold and experience advantage over your opposition. And Hunters trying to get to the late game will value every iota, every single experience they can muster from this jungle. I'm waiting to see what Cloud9 decide to do. When are they going to pull the trigger? When are they going to go for this aggressive play? Because in the early game, we have seen them do it quite a few times. They wait for the opportune moment, and then they go for that big play.
Something that Cloud9 is so good at is playing around power spikes. And you mentioned, when are they going to start to make their move? Power spikes, item spikes, and level spikes, and what Cloud9 balances when choosing to make a move. You're going to need at least Poison Shiv, you feel, for the Sky before they even decide to think about a dive. Maybe that first item, Shattered Glass or Dragon's Eye, for I Love Joseph as well.
Have to see when those first items do come out. Will Hunters be able to distract them and push them away if that dive does come out? Harmonious building up that weapon power. Swagoo as well on the Blackfeather. Looks like he's going towards an Aftershock here. Looking for that extra damage early on.
I actually wouldn't go Aftershock in this particular composition, simply because I think you've got two squishies. They're unlikely to build a huge amount of shielding early on. Shattered Glass means at post level 8, if you just get to that level spike, you're going to have huge range damage potential against a team that is going to want to dive against you. And poke damage is good against Churnwalker, especially if you outrange his hooks. So I would have personally gone towards the Shattered Glass for that reason alone. Obviously, the Aftershock is going to be good if they dive onto you and you can get multiple procs of that Aftershock off, but personally, I just think I prefer the Shattered Glass in this scenario.
Cloud9 have been doing a lot of diving, though, so maybe Swagoo is trying to anticipate the way of the game. You never know how it's going to go. Harmonious now has the Sword Blade complete. No Fountain yet on Godfather, so this is a spike in terms of C9 having that extra item on their Roma, but they're not going to be able to find anything out of it just yet. We have seen just... The thing about C9 as well, Scoundrel, is they're not just this amazing early game team. They're not just this amazing aggressive team. They are so adept at working out, as we said, that perfect opportunity, the perfect time when they want to go aggressive. They work out exactly how their enemy team's playing. They adapt across the course of a series. And that's why we talk of them in such high regard. That's why we say they are looking to be the favorites for the World Championship.
Cloud9's ability to function in a team fight, even in the late game, we talk about how good their early mid game is. The reason we don't talk about their late game is they never let a team get to late game. And it feels like when you see them play their team fights, they're almost telepathic in the way that they communicate to have the perfect synchronicity in terms of their abilities. It is almost a spectacle. It's a art to watch them team fight in Vainglory.
And it is. Shatterglass completed, and now Old School with that poison shear. Perhaps we'll start to see a few more skirmishes here. Both teams willing to play the early game relatively slowly. We're 6 minutes in, only 400 gold between the two, but now level 6 has been hit on Old School. Joseph there with a spontaneous combustion as he pushes in as well. The death from above is going to come down. Swagyu needs to dodge around. A good amount of damage coming back out from the Baron, though. And C9 realize they cannot push any further for the time being.
Looks like it's going to be Hunters pushing towards that turret, but without a fountain on their side. This is a Reniski maneuver.
A Reniski maneuver indeed, a scoundrel, but Hunters have to make a few risky maneuvers if they want to win out these games. In a pure 3v3, they haven't been able to beat C9, but maybe they can if they get the damage down from the Baron. Gabe Vizzle, the first to fall, the death from above is dodged by Swaggy. The wounds are going to hit onto Godfather though, and now it's up towards Harmonious. He's gone down, and C9 have been able to re-engage. They've been able to get 2 kills, and they are the ones on the front foot now.
It's a risky, Reniski maneuver to go for that push so aggressively without your fountain. You didn't see Cloud9 use it in the previous engage. Let's take a look here. Cloud9 saw that they were getting out-rotated. They moved to lane. Suddenly, Harmonious gets a couple of really hard-hitting basic attacks off. Gabe Vizzle starts to tank and sustain a decent amount, but at this point you have 2 very healthy carries chasing down a retreating Hunters team, and both Sky and Petal relish the opportunity to chase their opposition down. Cloud9 suddenly turn what looked like a poor situation for them into the first turret of the game.
And once again, it's the same story, you know, you see a breath of air for Hunters, you see a sign of life, and C9 say, oh no you don't, and once again they put the Hunters in their place. Oh yes they do, say C9. They put the Hunters in their place, and Hunters just haven't been able to find the appropriate prey thus far. It's C9 who are the predators, and Hunters who are getting caught out so often.
What I notice about C9 that they do better than pretty much any other team that I've seen play Vainglory is when other teams would likely back out of a scenario due to
fights like this occurring. C9 are the ones who are on the front foot. Death from Above's going to come down. It catches out the fountain used, but it's a little bit too late to save the Godfather. And it's a story of Sopranos as once again a Godfather goes down. Now Hunters 2,000 goal behind at the 8-minute mark after an incredibly slow early game. C9 have this game firmly in their grasp.
And they're going to get Gold Miner as well. Classic C9. We talk about it every game that they play. A sliver of an opportunity. They push the lane up. They get a global objective. Huge amount of money in the bank.
And then they take away jungle as well. You know, here they're taking away the front camps. They're looking to steal a Treant away as well. Swagyu does a good job of getting it. But it's just, it's so difficult. It's so much toil and hard work for Hunters to get any of their own jungle, to get anything out of this game. C9 just shut you completely out of the action when they can.
I mean, Cloud9 getting extra jungle farm on top of what they're already getting is the icing on the cake, but the cake already tastes sweet. They're already crushing their opposition. And like I said...
Probably a chocolate drizzle cake, I think. Those are the best items.
I'm just more into a chocolate fudge myself. Okay. Anything chocolate, I'll eat.
We'll have to see if C9 are going to lose a turret here. Swaggy, who is in that front line, once again gets stunned up. A great trespass coming out. He's going to try and move defensive away, but Gabriel's still in the midst of the fray. 3 members of Hunters falling low here, and Joseph and C9 just don't seem to be taking any damage. Old School gets chunked out, though, almost falls. Somehow stays alive. Harmonious can put a lot of damage down with the jump jets, trying to get the autos off, but that's a double kill for Joseph once again. And who can stop the Petal when he's on a rampage? Joseph is looking incredible this game.
Every opportunity that Cloud9 have to punish their opposition, they punish in spades, and they're going to get even more off the back of this. We talked about Cloud9 not letting their enemies get to late game. It sure as hell isn't happening this game.
Not at all, and Hunters once again just left wanting at the end of some of these fights. You know, you see Joseph go low, you see Old School go low, but Hunters just can't get that final tick of damage to actually secure any of these kills.
But it's also credit to C9. I was about to say earlier what they do better than any other team I've ever seen play Vainglory. In some situations, some teams would have backed off then. They said, oh, we're really low, but Cloud9 know their limits absolutely to a T. They had a man disadvantage on that first tier turret push. They knew they could continue that aggression, no matter that they'd lost their roamer. No matter there was a 3 versus 2 situation. Cloud9 still sought the fight and won.
Let's have a look at where we are in terms of build as well, Scoundrel. Joseph has the Dragon's Eye and a Shatter Glass completed now. You've got the Breaking Point and the Poison Shiv on Old School. Even Gabe Vizzle now has a Metal Jacket alongside that Fountain. He's in such a good position. Can actually go and buy the Crucible now as well. He will be at 3 items when Harmonious is sitting at 2, when Swagyu is sitting at 2, when Godfather's sitting at 2. When your Roam is a full item ahead of the enemy's carry, you know you're in a good spot. And Swagyu is getting caught out here by Joseph. Down to about half HP. The Crystal Sentry comes out. Maybe Hunters can win a 4v3, but I don't think C9 are going to give them the opportunity. The Iron Cannon comes down. Joseph is chunked. Here goes Swagyu. Can he take down the Petal? Can he put some pesticants on towards that Petal? It's a 1-for-1 trade. The pesticide worked, but C9 still win the fight. 3 kills to 1.
Business as usual. Opening hours 24/7. C9 every time. Let's have a look at that again. If they caught Swagyu out. Now, there's itemization choice problems from Godfather again. He's prioritized the Clockwork second item against the Churnwalker, who's just managing to land ultimates time and time again onto key targets. Yeah, okay, you see Swagyu diving Joseph. He's sustaining so much with that spontaneous combustion. In the meantime, your hyper late game carry gets destroyed, and everybody's on such low health that Old School's able to clean up.
The problem with the Clockwork as well is you're not alive long enough to use your second rotation of spells. So really, if you get the Crucible, it would help you out a lot more.
If you want to win mid-game, especially post 6 for level for Churnwalker, you should be having a Crucible. You should have a Crucible versus the Churnwalker if you want to win mid-game.
Gaviz will just use his Crucible to try and keep himself away from the sun. Here's the spontaneous combustion. Harmonious is going to back away from this. Has the time it's monocle now as well. The death from above is going to come out. Old School maybe overextended as we see Swagyu jumping on towards him, but already Hunter's on the back foot once again. Harmonious from the side, but can't do any damage to Gaviz, and he is gone. Swagyu now jumps on towards Old School. It's just nothing that Blackfeather can do at all. C9 are disgustingly good at Vainglory. A triple kill for them. An ace at the 12-minute mark. They're looking for this choke point turret as well, and C9, this is the most dominant performance I have ever seen in Vainglory.
And it's got better and better every game this series. Quicker and quicker Cloud9 have pulled the pace. Hunters have looked dead in the water. Cloud9 up in the air. It's very, very good Vainglory. I also want to point out the difference in captains and itemization. Gabe Vizzle picks a Metal Jacket super early before even going for a Crucible. He knows that he is going to be the front line. When you're a Baron, you respect a Churnwalker. You respect the fact he's coming to hook you, therefore he's going to be the closest target, therefore he's likely going to be soaking up most of the basic attacks. Cloud9, they pick up the Metal Jacket, full well knowing that Gabe can force Baron out of position or force Baron back in a team fight, while the rest of his team, without needing too much armor, can literally clean up the rest of the fight.
3 items now on Harmonious, so maybe he can get through Gabe Vizzle, maybe, but there's more armor on the rest of Cloud9 as well. A coat of plates just completed into a Metal Jacket for Old School. Joseph sitting on a light armor. He's not really the focused target of any of the fights we have seen. Hunters now will just be trying to find a way back into this game, but C9 do not give you anything. They're going to take a gold miner here as well. 14 minutes in, they have a 9,000 gold lead, and they want to extend that to 10. Looking for the fight here. The hooks and chains from Gabe Vizzle, a huge Swagyu. The triple stun. Oh my goodness gracious me. There is nothing this C9 team cannot do. They're going to get another ace. They could even look to close out the game here. Ace buff minions pushing in. 2 crystal turrets between them and a spot in the semi-finals.
It's almost too early to end the game. The death timers just aren't there right now. But Cloud9, look, if there was ever a cause to say you should have had Crucible a long time ago, that was the cause right there. But it is a credit to how well Cloud9 play as a unit. That was a 3-man stun, like you said. It's very hard sometimes to pull that off as a Churnwalker, let alone have no one block it. This unit is the best Vainglory team in the world.
And if you are Tribe, and if you are Ace, and if you are anyone else in the tournament at the moment, you're saying, what do we do? How do we face up against Cloud9? Because they look like the most cohesive unit we have ever seen at the Vainglory World Championships. Better than even Phoenix Armada last year. They just look absolutely unstoppable. C9 going to try and push in here. The 15-minute mark is just around the corner, and with that, the spawn of the Kraken and perhaps the end of the game for Hunters. They will be reaching into their suitcases. They'll be thinking, what do we have left? What can we do against this Cloud9 onslaught, against the Behemoths that are this C9 team who once again going for the engage and get one kill. Harmonious down. Swagyu trying to dance his way away, but there's no escape from C9 today. Looking for the kill, can't quite get it. They do in the end, and now Godfather gets back to the Sanctuary, but there's no healing for you here. C9, they're kind of a big deal, I tell you, and they're going to look to close out this game.
And I bet their apartment smells of rich mahogany, because this is an incredible performance.
Absolutely superb stuff from Cloud9, the most dominant performance we have ever seen at the Vainglory World Championships. They're going to take down the Hunters 3-0, and they're going to the semi-finals.
Calm, collected, cool, calculated.